Mental diff. There's nothing quite so powerful and all-consuming as the human imagination. It is the engine of all that exists. Everywhere you look, you are seeing manifested ideas from minds just like your own. The wild part is that we actually can't help this as humans. We are manifesting at all times, even when we don't realize we are. We are always feeding something. We are always creating something. The artist's path is the act of channeling that manifestation consciously. The human imagination is a wild, formless beast with infinite faces. This beast must somehow be tamed if we are to realize its unlimited power within our limited time on Earth. If we don't, it'll simply drag us along with it, manifesting whatever we see, feel, and think, whether we're consciously aware of it or not. As Carl Jung put it will direct our life, and we will call it fate. There's no getting around the fact that taming this beast within us all is work. It is arduous, continuous work. A path that demands as much of us as we do it. As some of you may begin to realize, the words I speak in these videos are always on two levels. One is the level of form, our physical world, and the way we find the resources to continue living. The other level is of the mind, the timeless, mysterious essence that spurs us into action, that guides us into radiant expression and embodiment of all that we are. Over the years, I've come to notice that our vast world can be divided up by those who would do anything to wake up and do the work, and those of us who would do anything to avoid it. And that's the trick. We're merely convincing ourselves that we've avoided it, when in reality, we've only taken the scenic route back to the work. Overwatch is a highly immersive game, a whole other world. But I argue that it isn't all that separate from the one we all must return to when we're done. The jobs we do to survive. The people that we must interact and work with, whether we actually enjoy their company or not. Then, of course, there's health, and all the dimensions of it that we have control over, and the vast array of ideas where we actually don't. At all. At least on the physical level. So as always, I'm going to center this week's video on the other level. The mental. When you take all these things into account, it really isn't all that different from solo queuing in competitive Overwatch every day. As we covered in a previous video, sometimes you're just gonna get a bad batch of apples. Does that mean you just throw? I mean, it's up to you. If you want more of the same, that's one way to do it. But I don't want more of the same, so I'm not throwing. I know you not talking. What? I know you not talking about throwing. I don't throw. Brother, you went 1-6. What are you? Last match you had 1 kill and 6 deaths. Okay. With me. Alright, I still don't see what you do in fact throw. What I'm saying is that I don't consciously choose to throw when things get hard. I stick it out. It is entirely possible to throw whether you consciously choose to or not. You went 1-6. I heard you the first time. Remember that. Okay. As I was saying, when I get a bad batch of apples in a match, I've trained myself to fight anyway. To think of some way to make something happen, even if it's for sure a loss. That way, I gain something other than stress from the time spent in unwinnable circumstances. But you have to consider something. Many of your potential teammates may already be at their wits' end as soon as you queue. In fact, I'd argue a fair amount of the population is on edge because of the nature of the game. Shit, because of the nature of the world. It's a workout, mentally and emotionally. If we don't know when to rest or understand the value of setting goals for our workouts, we'll never make it to the places we actually want to go. And I'd argue that some part of us recognizes this, whether we consciously do or not. And when we ignore this, gravity feels 100 times heavier. Things get so heavy that we're ultimately forced to be still and address our choices. If we don't, things only get heavier. You can be sure that at least someone in your lobby is experiencing this and might be using Overwatch as a means to escape. When they lose, they're forced to face the reality they're hiding from, kicking and screaming. So, they kick and they scream. They yell. They throw. They refuse to face the gravity, so they try to take as many people down with them as possible. While we may pass judgment on these individuals in the heat of the moment, especially in competition, we should be mindful of the fact that this is a symptom of a culture that doesn't serve us. Human behavior doesn't become a shared culture without serious and consistent reinforcement from somewhere, whether that be from the role models around us or something unique to ourselves individually. This is a part of the ideas that the Stoics realized, and we have them to thank for the blueprints they've left behind for dealing with the cause of that symptom. Put simply, the beast needs a master. Without one, it will destroy you. Every single one of us on Earth is dealing with the responsibility of our minds and emotions. We are all at different stages in our development too. It'd be unwise not to account for that in Overwatch and in life. The point? Mental is the most important stat for any and everything you endeavor to do in life. So, how do we grow stronger mentally? You gotta do hard S-word consistently. It's a muscle. Mental is a muscle. It's as hilariously basic as that. And how do you build muscle? You gotta lift. When you queue into a match with 4 other strangers, you'll be met with some level of force that you must overcome in some way. Sometimes it's about brute force, other times it's about manipulation, and still other times it's about sitting back and allowing things to unfold in your favor, shifting the odds where you can and allowing them to play out where you can't. It's a dance of fate in real time. On support, at any moment, your reinforcement of the backline can shift from heals to damage. The muscle fiber that you build by competing at your limits strengthens your ability to spot patterns and doors of opportunity to win. It's never just aim or just team composition. Your whole team could counter the enemy on paper, but the fact remains that you must best them in battle. You have to fight. And if you're in the right lobby, the enemy team will know this. In fact, they'll be prepared and they'll be ready to fight like hell. If you don't fight, you'll certainly lose. Life, in my opinion, is no different. You can let the years flow by, insulated by the limiting beliefs you tell yourself if you like, but your bones will still one day become brittle. You can avoid the work for your entire life if you'd like. But when you're taking your last breaths, you will have to account for the choice you made, even if that choice was no choice at all. You absolutely must set goals if you want so much as a hope of taming that wild beast within each of us. Goals are simply context. Context for the inevitable challenge of life. Context for the pain of growth. A reason to engage. Not having a goal is not having a destination, meaning from the start, you've nowhere to go. Our minds are timeless, time-traveling forces. They are built for realization and manifestation. When we starve our minds and hearts of this, the gravity of life increases drastically. We end up swimming upstream in life and losing ground at the same time. Here's a strange secret that changed my outlook on essentially everything. Your subconscious, the beast, doesn't understand the concept of no. You are always programming your brain, even when you choose to do nothing. When you choose to hide, the subconscious will always assume that this is what you want. Your entire physiology responds to your choices, your thoughts, and your feelings, whether you're aware of that or not. The first step to building mental is to recognize our true relationship to our minds and hearts. We are the captain of the ship, whether we accept our role or not. What you say and what you don't say is what goes. Understand that your state of mind is a reliable indicator of the results that will follow your endeavors. Put simply, if you believe you're going to lose, you will. If you believe that you will fail, you will. If you believe it's a waste of time, it is. When we first come into this understanding, the muscle is weak. When you first decide to lift weights, that first session from a long stretch of nothing will tear muscle fibers that haven't been torn in a long time. The pain will be intense and it will last a while. This is usually when most people stop and never pick it up for a while, completely unaware that the pain is merely a process of transformation that they've halted once again. And furthermore, they've programmed inconsistency into their minds. And the beast always follows suit. Starting something is often described as the hardest part of any worthwhile journey. But I'd argue that it's the step afterwards. Starting's hard, don't get me wrong, but the second step's a little different. You see, after you begin, you realize something. You must continue making progress while your muscles are sore, when you don't feel like it. Some say that we don't feel like it because we're lazy, but I personally feel like this is missing the point entirely. You can slap the label of lazy to yourself if you want to and all the shame that comes with it, but if we're operating as the captain of the ship of our lives, it's a very unhelpful label. It doesn't tell us anything useful. But you know what does? Recognizing that our goal might not be sufficient enough to take the second step. It's not that you're incapable, it's that you're unwilling, given the amount of pain you must endure to continue growing. It's actually a bargain, a negotiation, a deal that you make with yourself and the universe. The reason why you stopped is because you did the math, and it ain't mathin'. You simply don't see the cost of the journey to be worthwhile to the end goal, whatever that may be. I argue that if we put more thought into the goal, I'm talking good, robust, tangible, and sound goals, we'd be able to bargain with ourselves sufficiently to keep going. But by and large, we don't. We fixate on the pain, because the pain reveals who we truly are beneath our names, beneath the stories we tell ourselves. The journey of self-improvement requires an unflinching gaze at our naked, flawed selves. All the excuses we give ourselves are merely temporary barriers to a truth we must all one day face. The second step to building mental is to make those truths that we gaze at unflinchingly tangible. We must distill the often painful process of looking at ourselves truthfully into tangible weights to lift and process. But the fact is, it's a hell of a lot easier to let the untamed beast within us have its way. It feels like direction. We can rest in the helplessness of instinct, or so we think. The beast is just the ship. You are the captain. If you end up swallowed up at sea, it's not the ship's fault. It's the captain's. Why do you think they so often go down with the ships in the stories? It's because despite the loot and plunder lifestyle of, say, a pirate, they fully grasped and accepted their role on the ship. Maybe the captain has some mental illness that needs addressing. Maybe the captain is heavily wounded emotionally and needs some help to patch up. No matter the reasoning, the ship needs direction. It will continue sailing whether you're present at the wheel or not. There's no getting around the fact that the captain must look at themselves for all that they are and factor this into their goals if they actually want to reach the shore. It's either that or take your final rest in a graveyard of driftwood. I think we've done all we can with that metaphor. So you've recognized the true nature of our connection to the subconscious, and you've embraced that the next step of the journey after you start requires a good enough goal to keep flowing through the pain. Wonderful. Next, start walking. Take the time to repeat steps 1 and 2 as needed, and before you know it, you'll find home under pressure that was previously unimaginable. The coolest part of this journey to me is when you realize there isn't actually a limit to the amount of pressure that you can handle. Sure, there are physical limitations, but we're not just physical beings. In this way, the untamed beast with infinite faces becomes a palace with infinite doors of possibility. You are unlimited. The sooner you see and accept that, the sooner you can access the infinite power of mentality. Our entire world is mental. Yes, you will have enemies. Yes, there will be forces beyond your control, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about the one that is. This is why mental is truly the most important stat in Overwatch and in life. When your teammates are consumed in the searing flames of inevitable loss, you become a pillar with eyes fixed on the goal beyond the battle. When you engage in battle, your enemies know that they aren't just dealing with you and your skill as you are now. They will come to know that they are dealing with a dedicated captain of a wild, formless beast with infinite faces. They will know that the wellspring from which you draw energy is unlimited. A tsunami couldn't keep you from your goals. So how could a silver-ranked lobby? I'll see you next week.